Hey everybody, Jennifer Schaus here, coming to you live today from Washington, D.C. Thanks for joining us in our Webinar Wednesday series. In 2023, we are covering the top 40 profiles of the top U.S. federal government contractors, and today we're covering Jacobs Engineering. So before we get started, just a couple notes. Our webinar today and all of our webinars are complimentary and recorded. You can find the recordings on our YouTube channel, which now has over 600 government contracting webinars. If you're looking for the PowerPoint from today, it'll be uploaded later this afternoon on slideshare.net. You can log in there with your LinkedIn credentials, and that is also a complimentary platform. A quick blurb about us. We are based in downtown DC, and we work with revenue generating established federal government contractors. Some of our services are listed here with a primary focus on contract vehicles, including the GSA schedule. We also put on events and conferences throughout the year. You can visit our website to get more information or to contact us. In the event that you're selling to federal government contractors, we do have a newsletter that goes out every Monday, and there are advertising opportunities in that. You can also have us post to our LinkedIn, and there are a variety of other options for advertising, including sponsoring some of these webinars. If you're interested in that, just send us an email to the hello@jenniferschaus.com email address. A couple of our upcoming specialty webinars are listed here. So later this month, we've got a two-part series, which we are doing with our friends at the VA. It's the OSDW office, so the Small Business Office. So we're going to talk about GSA schedule basics in a part 1 and part 2 series. There will be a part 3 that'll be a different speaker. You can get more information through the links that are provided here on the screen. We're also working with our friends at the SBA to talk about subcontracting opportunities within the Veterans Affairs. That will be on Tuesday, August 29th, and the link to join is listed here on the screen. You can also hop over to our website under the event section. Even though these are all webinars, they're listed there with the registration link. There is no fee to attend these, and they will be recorded. As we continue in additional webinars in August, we're talking about the GSA schedule as a federal business development tool with our friends at Visible Thread. That's going to be at 12 o'clock Eastern on the 31st of August. We're also partnering again with Visible Thread later in the year in October, covering basically just looking at opportunities within fiscal year 24, which is upon us very soon. Again, this will be complimentary and recorded and posted to Visible Thread's YouTube channel. Also later in the year in October, from 10 to 12, we're covering GSA schedule requirements and strategies for success with GovSpen and FedMine. The link for that is on our website, again, under the event section. What's happening tomorrow, and then if you're not able to make tomorrow's webinar, it will happen again in February, is Marketing 101 for federal contractors. This is through the Virginia PTAC or Apex Accelerator. And then we've got another class with them on GSA schedules in September. So quite a few webinars to choose from. I believe most of these, except for the Virginia PTAC classes, will in fact be recorded. Again, all of the links are currently on our website under the event section. These are all webinars, however, and not in person. For anyone that's looking to get onto the GSA Oasis contract, the clock is ticking loud on this. If you're interested in any of the proposal packages that we've got, shoot us an email and we'll connect you to the right package and provide pricing. Okay, so now we just want to send out some thank yous, including some of the partners as well as sponsors that help make this series complimentary. So we want to thank our friends at GovEvents. They're the premier platform for posting events related to government and government contracting. You can find all of our webinars and our events on govevents.com, as well as our recordings from the past 600 plus webinars. We also want to thank Tom Johnson and his team at Set Aside Alert. They're the go-to publication for contracting opportunities for small, women-owned, veteran-owned, hub zone, and 8A firms. Visit setasidealert.com for more information. The Fairfax Economic Development Authority has an online calendar of events and webinars, and we want to thank them for posting our events and webinars on their calendar. The Virginia PTAC, soon to be called Apex Accelerator, they're located over at George Mason University in Fairfax. They offer free one-on-one counseling to established government contracting firms in Virginia on federal, state, and local procurement topics. If you're interested in learning more, please use the links provided to explore services, review homework recommendations, register for live training, and find useful links to agencies and other self-directed learning. Online resources and group trainings are free with no restriction on business location. One-on-one counseling is, however, limited to eligible client companies. The Federal Business Council events are the ultimate engagement channel to bring government and industry together. 68% of government personnel report that they attend more than one event each year. FBC has worked with government and industry for 45 plus years to create gatherings where ideas are shared and to help government achieve its goals. This includes agency industry days, cybersecurity symposiums, tech expos, and offsite meetings. FBC provides full life cycle meeting planning and event management. With over 5,000 meetings under their belt, FBC has the experience, systems, and personnel to make your next event exceptional. You can learn more at fbcinc.com. The Greater Reston Chamber of Commerce has an event tomorrow, which will be Thursday, August 3rd. It runs for 2 hours over at the Reston Chamber. You'll hear from the SBA as well as the Pulse of GovCon, and you'll get information about upcoming opportunities for the fourth quarter of the federal fiscal year. You can learn more by going over to the Greater Reston Chamber of Commerce website, which I believe is grcc.org, or I'm sorry, it's listed there at the top right corner, restonchamber.org, and more information about this event will be found on their calendar. Bid speed. So do you want help winning contracts? Bid speed helps and you will win. Find opportunities from every federal, state, and local public source in the U.S. BidSpeed can help you find teaming partners, incumbent point of contact, expiring contracts, and provide you with a compliance matrix as well as proposal templates. BidSpeed is an official partner of the U.S. SBA's 7J Management and Technical Assistance Program. Get started today at bidspeed.com. Oops. And again, we want to thank GovSpend and FedMind for providing the data in today's webinar. They've provided data for us over the last several years in our webinar series. So again, we want to thank them for providing the data to make this series possible. Without them, it would be a lot of manual effort. I know that they do take the time to put together a lot of information for us. So again, we want to thank them for participating. They are the leading source of data analytics and insight for government contractors. They're pulling data from 18 different federal data sources and sets, and then they create a single database that places all of this information at your fingertips. The platform now provides contract opportunities within thousands of entities at federal, state, local, and educational organizations. So in the event that you're selling outside of federal to the SLED market, these guys are your go-to for data. With the acquisition of FedMind in 2021, the combined FedMind and GovSpend solution empowers teams to make smarter decisions. Again, we want to thank them for providing the data in this series and in the previous years. A little bit about the series and our schedule, and then we'll dig into the content. Again, today's webinar is complimentary and recorded in case you're just joining us. The recording is going to be posted later today on our YouTube channel. If you sign up to follow our YouTube channel, you'll get an alert when today's webinar and any future webinars are posted. It doesn't cost you anything, and the PowerPoint from today will be posted later this afternoon on the slideshare.net site. It's a complimentary website. You can log in with your LinkedIn credentials. Okay, here's where we are in the series. Everything in red we have covered, so we're more than halfway through and working our way through the season. Today we're covering Jacobs. Next week will be SpaceX, and we will close out the season on Wednesday, November 15th with GlaxoSmithKline. Again, these are the top 40 federal contractors. We went back several fiscal years, took averages and pulled the list based on those averages. So we're assuming that most people are on the call because they're interested in teaming, partnering, joint venture, mentor protege, or simply subcontracting with any of these primes. So we feel it would be in your best interest to be cognizant of the FAR and the DFARS, the FAR, the Federal Acquisition Regulations, as Part 44, which covers subcontracting policies and procedures. So any of the FAR flow down clauses will be posted here on this webinar. Same thing with the DFARS. For any defense contractors, you're going to have FAR flow down clauses as well, so you should be aware of the DFARS Part 244 on policies and procedures. Some other webinars that we've covered on subcontracting. We kicked off this webinar series in 2023 with subcontracting with the primes. There were 6 sessions to that, ranging from market research all the way through to compliance. I believe that we had some guest speakers, and the link to that webinar is listed there at the top of your screen. In 2022, I believe it was, we covered subcontracting opportunities within all 15 of the federal departments. Those are listed on our website under the subcontracting tab. And then we've got about 30 plus webinars on more of the tactical and strategic topics on subcontracting. Again, these are all complimentary. They're all on our website and all on our YouTube channel. And best practices, if you are in fact going for the angle of subcontracting, you want to define what it is you do and do well and be known for that. Be the best landscape service company, or the best janitorial company, or the best IT systems integration company. Once you have identified what it is you do and do well, you then want to find opportunities where you are bringing something to the table. So when you're reaching out to these large businesses, you're going to be one of many, many small businesses that's angling to be a sub to them. So you need to have something special, a special sauce. And in that special sauce can be just where you are adding value, whether it's a skill set that you have, a lower price, a relationship within the department or agency where the solicitation is about to take place, something that you are adding a complementary service to the company. You want to use all of the public data that's out there. By public data, we mean free data. All of these websites will give you information that will help you make bid or no bid decisions, and will help you learn more about the businesses that you want to partner with. So you want to do your homework. You want to sign up for Google Alerts. So if it's Jacobs that you're targeting, you want to make sure that you're signed up for the Google Alerts for Jacobs to find out any news about them. Has their stock price increased, decreased? Are there any mergers, acquisitions? Are they spinning off their government division? What is happening within the company? What trade shows and or events are they attending? Has somebody been promoted within the company? Just any information that will help educate you and keep you abreast of what's happening with them to make you more educated when you're speaking to them. Your capability statement, therefore, should then be focused on that specific opportunity, meaning that RFP that you want to partner with them on. Once you have all of this information put together and you've got that custom capability statement, then I think it's time to register on their website as a small business. Most of these companies have a dedicated section on their website where small businesses can go and register to kind of basically just be there with your credentials. So don't think that just because you're on that website, somebody's going to call you. You should be doing more of the homework and bringing something of value to them. Again, sign up for their newsletter, find out what events they're attending, what trade shows, what associations are they members of, join those same trade shows, events, and start to build your relationship and your network within the company. You can do some research on LinkedIn to find the small business liaison officers. who are not there to do your homework. They are simply there to help you get to the right person, assuming then that you have done your homework and you've identified the opportunity. Okay, enough preaching there on subcontracting. Again, today we're covering Jacobs. Some basic info. We've got the link to the website and some information on their stock price. The first graph that you see there at the bottom of the screen gives the max historical data that we've got. Again, pulling from Yahoo, and then we did a look back at 5 years because that's kind of what we're looking at for the procurement data. We go back 4 to 5 fiscal years, depending upon the section that we're going to cover. So you can see a little bit of fluctuation. COVID didn't look like it was terrible for them. You know, some dips, but looks like their stock is at a fairly healthy price. Not the highest it's ever been, but certainly in that threshold. So again, you don't need to be a financial analyst or hold any of the series 5, 6, 7 or whatever it is, but just to be cognizant and know some of this information. The link to register on their website for their supplier diversity is listed here. It's pretty straightforward and easy to navigate. When we go over to sam.gov, we do want to mention that CH2M, which was formerly CH2M Hill, also an engineering company, is now part of Jacobs as of December 2017, which obviously is a long time ago, but they're not shown as 2 separate entities. So you're going to see some data on some of these slides that will have CH2M segmented, and that's on purpose just because of how they're listed in FPDS, which is where we're pulling data from. Okay, so LinkedIn information, they're listed here. Headquarters in Dallas, Texas, shows that they've got a little bit over 60, almost 70,000 employees. Some searching on Google and other sites tell us it's maybe closer to 80. And we've got Bob Pragada listed there as the CEO. We know Bob from when he studied back at the Naval Academy back in the 90s, many years ago. So a hat tip to Bob on his recent appointment at the beginning of this year as CEO. These are the SBLOs on LinkedIn. Some are listed more as subcontracts managers. If somebody's showing up more as a subcontracts manager, then they might be doing more of the paperwork versus actually interfacing with the small businesses. Take a look at their locations, dig into their background, and again, do your homework before, and that's in all caps, before you reach out to them. Again, these are small business liaison officers. They're not there to do your homework for you. You need to dig in and find out what it is you're bringing to the table and what the opportunity is for you to work with these companies. Okay, when we look at the prime contracts on the civilian side, we've got quite a few here. So a lot of diversity there in their civilian contracts with Department of Energy and DHS, and DOT leading the way. Behind that comes in, and we'll say 4th, 5th, and 6th would be Interior, Justice, and HHS. If you look at their totals, though, they're healthy numbers. However, a major decline in fiscal year 2021. So they go from about $1 million down to 313. I'm sorry, $1 billion down to 313 million. Didn't have my glasses on. So that's about 2/3 of a loss there, and also 2022, again, these are just civilian agencies showing a loss. 2023, not looking great so far, but still some months left in the fiscal year, and we do know that the fiscal 4th quarter is usually when we see a lot of big purchases. So still a couple weeks to make up some dollars there. It will be interesting to see what happens in 2023, but I'd encourage you to look at all of the agencies that we mentioned, Department of Energy, DHS, and DOT, where the bulk of the dollars seem to be falling. but some inclines, I'm sorry, some declines across the board there for them. When we look at the defense side, the numbers are a little more solid, particularly across the totals versus the civilian side, with some growth showing. And keep in mind, for fiscal year 2023, DoD is always 3 months behind in reporting, so still some ground to make up there. And again, I'm not going to speculate here, but it'll be interesting to see what happens in fiscal year 2023. Bulk of their work obviously is with the Navy, where we're seeing steady growth across the board. The Army, we're seeing some decline. Air Force shows some growth. DoD headquarters, some growth, and DLA kind of to be determined. Again, these are 3 months behind, so DLA could actually have already surpassed the fiscal year 2022 numbers. So the defense numbers obviously are showing a little bit slightly above where they are on the civilian side. And now we're going to look at the independent agencies. So they've got, if you guys have been with us for any of the past webinars, the past 24 webinars, you'll see that some companies have a heavy concentration either in defense or civilian, but Jacobs seems to have pretty good diversity amongst all three categories: civilian, defense, and independent. The totals here for independent look fairly steady. NASA, if you look at NASA for fiscal year 2020, you see a nice increase there, and then a little bit of a decline in 2022, and still a decline in 2023. Again, 2023 obviously is incomplete. National Science Foundation is showing a major decline, so you might want to investigate what perhaps the contract was there in 2019, because it looks like their revenue then gets cut in half in 2020. That could have been related to COVID or not. The reason we go back to these fiscal years prior to 2020, again, is because of COVID, to see if there were any anomalies. Okay, and GSA has some somewhat steady numbers there as well. There's one other piece here that another bucket that we're going to cover, which is the legislative branch, where Jacobs has a couple contracts as well. So we did not get detailed information from FedMine GovSpend, but this is either going to be the House or the Senate that had some contracts that popped up in 2021. A little bit of a decline in 2022, and we'll see what happens for 2023. This will be worth some investigation. And again, keep in mind, these numbers that we're looking at are including Jacobs and CH2M together. The top 5 NAICS codes are going to be very heavy concentration in R&D on physical engineering and life sciences. And then the rest is more or less spread out amongst engineering, R&D, computer systems, and facility support. A lot of this comes down to the discretion of the contracting officer and what NAICS code they're going to put the contracts under. And then this is just that same chart broken out in actual numbers. Again, the slides will be available to you later this afternoon. They'll be uploaded onto slideshare.net. So we'll send out an email with those links. But from 2018, which is as far back as we went through 2021, there's a nice increase in business. It drops off just slightly in 2022 if you're looking at the totals. And 2023, not looking great compared to 2022, but keep in mind this is cumulative of civilian, defense, independent, and legislative. So there are still going to be some numbers on the DoD side to report that are not showing up here. We usually pull the data the Friday before, but again, keep in mind there's still 3 months pending data, and then the rest of the fiscal year to populate there for that column on 2023. So they could come out ahead in 2023. It's just, it'll take probably until December or January to have that answer. So what we looked up on those last two slides was actually for Jacobs, and we broke this out here for CH2M. So they are focused more on the remediation services and engineering services as well, but obviously heavy concentration in remediation and a big dip, as you can see, just looking at the actual graph from fiscal year 2020 over to 2021. So remediation obviously played a role during COVID, and then here are the numbers broken out for you. Again, this is for CH2M, separate from Jacobs, because that's more or less how they are listed in FPDS, so we were able to extract that for you. And when we look at contracts with a subcontracting requirement on the civilian side, this will mirror the numbers that we saw for the civilian contracts. So the same agencies will show up again here. Energy, DHS, DOT, Interior, DOJ, and HHS is going to be where the bulk of the dollars and opportunities will be. And then if you look at the totals, you can see the decline there. On the defense side, the sub-K requirement, and again, subcontracting opportunities are going to be any contracts that Jacobs or any prime contractor wins that's valued at $750 and above. A certain percent of their business then is subcontracted out to the small women-owned, veteran-owned, hub-zone, 8A, and all the other check boxes. So same thing here on the defense side, the same players that we saw when we looked at the overview. And just keep an eye on the totals there. Again, these are 3 months delayed for that the first column there on fiscal year 2023. And then on the independent side, again, NASA, GSA, and NSF would be where you kind of want to pay attention, as well as EPA. NSF obviously doesn't have anything currently, but in the past they did. Might be worth digging in to find out what exactly happened there. Was there a contract that expired that might be coming up for recompete in another 2 years or so, where perhaps there's something you can bring to the table that's of value? So again, continue to do some homework. We're just providing some high-level intel and data to kind of get you started and steer you in the right direction. Okay, now these are the agencies where the top subcontracts were awarded. No surprises here. Again, Department of Defense is coming in towering over the others at almost more than half a billion. Army, Navy, NASA, DHS, EPA, and the other usual suspects, but the large concentration there at the top is NASA, Navy, Army, and DoD headquarters. Everyone else kind of falls into closer numbers between the 19 million and down to the close to 4 million for Department of Energy. Okay, when we look at the actual industry, this will somewhat, but not exactly, mirror what we saw on the other graph. So computer system design services, and again, these NAICS codes are tied to solicitations for the contracts that were won. So a lot of this comes down to you could have contracting officers from the same exact agency doing similar work, and one's going to put something under one NAICS code and another will put something under something different. So these are numbers, again, based on that data, so additional research on your part is required. So here it's showing that the bulk of their work is coming in at computer system design services, with R&D and engineering, as you would typically know Jacobs for, kind of coming in, we'll say, at second and third place. And then the rest of the concentration falls into professional services, R&D, the remediation shows up again, and some civil engineering and construction. Okay, when we look at the subcontractors, we've got a list here of a variety of companies with tech systems clearly holding the bulk of the subcontracts with Jacobs. If any of this resonates with you, and as far as it complements the services or products that you're providing, I take a look at tech systems to find out what potential opportunities to maybe be a sub to them are if you're not able to get into Jacobs immediately. And look at the others as well, because tech systems, probably just based on this chart, has a ton of companies coming to them. So maybe look at some of the other firms listed here. And now we'll just take a glance at the top 5 subcontracts reported. And some of these same companies are showing up here for the subcontractor award. If you look at the amount, which is the column on the far right, these are going to go low to high. And these are just the top 5, so there's more than just these. But coming in at 10 million, going all the way up to 353.5. And that's the tech systems that we discussed on the last slide. When we look at the GWAC, the government-wide acquisition contracts, it's a heavy focus on GSA with one contract over at Army, one contract vehicle at Army that dates back to 2018. So these are kind of the dollar figures of revenue through those contract vehicles. Alliant, Oasis, Alliant 2, and again, Oasis, these unrestricted pools 1 and 4 are all part of GSA's different flavors of contract vehicles. And then the Army contract vehicle here is the ITES 3S, which is for IT enterprise solutions. You can see that, as I said, it dates back to 2018, and some information there for you to study. Okay, and I just want to make sure that on this slide, GSA is just listed there because that's the other contract vehicle. I'm not trying to confuse the Army ITES 3S with GSA. Okay, and there may be more contract vehicles than what was posted there. These are just, again, the top 5, again, to give you some direction on and some knowledge about Jacobs. So when we look at the expiring contracts valued at 750 and above, again, these are, we're using 750 because that's the threshold for contracting. And we've listed here actually the location where they're operating. And I'm guessing based on Tennessee and Colorado, probably those are some energy contracts, Department of Energy. But it would behoove you to take the contract number and plug that into sam.gov to get more intel and get more details. The devil will definitely be in the details here, but we've provided the NAICS code to help you understand that. And I always find it interesting to look at the column on total sales as well as number of transactions, particularly when you're looking at millions or billions of dollars with just 9 transactions versus 61 transactions. So again, a little bit more homework is required here, and you'll notice in the company names that we have both Jacobs as well as CH2M for reasons that we discussed earlier. Okay, a couple conclusions and just some basic company information. Company dates back to 1947, founded by Joseph Jacobs. They're currently headquartered in Texas. Roughly about 80,000 employees, although LinkedIn is showing, I think, a little bit over 66,000. They operate globally, providing the engineering, construction, and specialty consulting services. They work not only with government, but a variety of companies and organizations. We've got the note there about the acquisition of CH2M in 2017. And some headlines that we pulled related to federal contracting. These were just pulled recently, so some note there on Army Corps of Engineer possible work. They are potentially spinning off their government business, their EPA contract for AE services. some Navy work, and some infrastructure engineering. So again, the slides will be available later today, as well as the recording, and we hope that you'll join us again next week when we cover Space Act. That should be a fun one and an interesting one. We'll continue then every Wednesday at noon Eastern, and we'll finish on November 15th with GlaxoSmithKline. Again, thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you next week.